the world you find yourselves in is largely peaceful. But there are always bad eggs. There are always people who will do bad things for their own gain, who will steal, who will murder for inheritance money. And somehow, the two of you keep finding yourselves in situations where it's convenient and fits your skills to sleuth these things out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this world is very similar to the first one that you came from. But if there are any details you would like to weave in about things that are subtly different, then that's fine. But largely, this is a peaceful, cozy, comfortable sort of world where you get to solve mysteries sometimes.
Sounds lovely.
We love solving mysteries sometimes.
And you've grown up together, and you are peas in a pod. You are Marlowe and Nia. You are partners in solving crime.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are you both like in this reality?
So I reckon we're not actually in the police. We're like PIs.
Yeah, but maybe in a part-time way.
Yeah, we're the police are always consulting with us.
Yeah, I reckon that Nia is maybe some kind of investigative journalist. And then ends up solving some crimes, which means that police start consulting her.
Yeah.
And I reckon Marlowe is a crime writer.
Sure. Yes. Good. So you're constantly getting
And then
material.
then we're kind of working together a lot.
Yeah.
Where you're doing investigations, and then I do the kind of Watson thing of writing a consumable story about them.
Yes. And we're both rich.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah. Richard Castle Rich.
Yeah.
So Marlowe's gone into true crime or based on true events. Sort of crime.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm hitting the big time with the news stories.
Winning those Pulitzers.
Yeah.
Lois Lane style.
Yeah.
So what's your latest case?
I think that there's been a bit of a Jonathan Creek style mystery.
Yeah, locked room murder.
Yep. And no one could solve it. So we've been brought in. It's someone at those singing murder mystery evenings they do. There's a part in that show where there's a lot of exciting sound and lights that happens, and it's all operated from a tech box which is sunk into the ceiling, so you can't actually see it, but it's got a little viewing grid in what would be the floor of that tech box. And that night, the sound and lights just didn't happen on cue. And when they went to investigate, the tech box was locked and there was no way in or out. But they found the technician dead inside.
Yeah, someone had seen them going in alive.
And then they were dead.
No witnesses. And there was only one way in and out that everyone in the audience and the cast would be able to see.
Yeah, and it was locked from the inside.
Yeah.
Real murder at a murder mystery.
Yes.
Yeah.
At a kind of stately home turned theatre venue.
Yeah.
And so you're brought in when the police are stumped.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're famous enough that there are some press outside that you have to fight your way through.
Yeah.
You get papped on the way in.
Yeah.
What's your sort of relationship with the press? Are you friendly?
So I think Nia's friendly because that's they're probably your network.
Yeah, apart from the more tabloidy side of things.
But the tabloidy ones you really look down your nose at. And I think I'm just surly in general.
Sure.
With strangers.
Yeah.
Just generally suspicious.
So it was a technician rather than the tech manager. So the tech manager meets you at the door and says, so glad you're here. I feel sure that this is in good hands now, this investigation. That Inspector Bridge is just... He's so bumbling, don't you agree?
They've got Bridgie on it. What a nightmare.
He's just like the way you write him in the books.
Yeah, I've not even changed his name. That's how much I don't like him. I think it's an outrage that he is just saying that it's a suicide without having properly investigated, which is classic in these locked room mystery situations where people assume that just because there was no way in and out that the victim must have killed themselves.
Of course, Derek had just won the lottery and he was was getting married at the weekend.
Absolutely.
He would never have committed suicide.
And if there's no note, then I'm sorry, you guys, but very unlikely.
Would you like to inspect the scene of the crime?
Hell yes, we would.
Absolutely.
Okay, you find yourselves in this tech box.
Yeah.
I like the idea that maybe one of your techniques is you try and recreate the exact circumstances. So
Oh yeah, like
Okay.
Derek from Criminal Minds. Derek
Yes,
Morgan.
yeah.
He likes to walk through the murder.
Yeah.
Or Hannibal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the tech manager walks you through, like, setting up the desk exactly how it was on the night.
Yeah.
Like, flicking switches on and off, making sure the lighting situation is exactly the same. You can kind of see through the viewing port that sort of lighting state's changing on the stage. And the tech manager says, "Oh, well, that's it. That's other than the audience in the auditorium. This is exactly how it was on the night. Shall I? I'll leave you to it. Shall I?"
Yeah, that'd be great.
The tech manager steps out, and the door closes.
I'm getting myself into the mind of the murderer.
Okay.
That's my process.
Okay. I take a more kind of cold scientific approach,
of course.
and I'm examining blood spatter and the minutiae of the scene.
That's exactly how a partnership works.
Yeah.
There's a tape outline of where Derek fell.
Why do they insist on doing this?
It's all across the desk and
Yeah, he's slumped across he was found slumped across the desk. They had to break the door to get in because locked room mystery.
Yeah.
What clues do you find?
So there is blood pooled, or you can see where it was pooled, all across the floor. But the only place it hasn't pooled is that little viewing vent that looks down into the performance area below. And something that's not been noticed in any of the police reports that we've read is that there's a tiny indentation, like something's hit it at force, in the ceiling of the tech box.
Yeah.
How's getting into the mind of the murderer going?
So I'm thinking about what might have motivated the killer to kill this young man who's about to get married at the weekend, has just won the lottery, and a few immediate motives are springing to mind.
Yeah.
So there are three reasons usually why a person commits murder. Those reasons are revenge, love, or money.
Yeah.
And this young man is about to get married, so there is a potential motive around that. And he's obviously just won the lottery, so it would definitely be worth working out who ends up with the money as a result of his death. Who benefits? Follow the money. It strikes me that in order to kill someone in this circumstance, this was very much a premeditated crime. Not a heat of the moment situation. So we are looking for somebody probably smart enough to have been able to work out how to do this and leave it looking like an apparent suicide in a locked room.
Yeah.
So while Marlowe is mind palacing and Nia is being observant and looking around for clues, through the viewing port, Nia sees that the auditorium is not empty after all. There is a figure in a hoodie in the auditorium that appears to be pointing some sort of piece of equipment up at the viewing port.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna run down there.
You unlock the door and hair off, and Marlowe, this is something that you've seen Nia do all the time.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of your mind palace monologue, and suddenly she's off chasing a suspect. You make it into the auditorium, and there is a figure there in the centre of the auditorium, standing on the back of one of the chairs. Can't see their face, wearing a hoodie, and they're pointing something sort of vaguely gun-like, but sort of there seems to be kind of cord or like wire elements to it, and is kind of still setting up and sighting on that viewing port.
I'm gonna run at them and shout, "Stop! What are you doing?"
They freeze, drop the piece of equipment, look at you. You just see whose face do you see? Catch a glimpse of under the hoodie.
Errol?
Hey, it can be Errol if you want.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, it's Errol.
You see
Errol the incompetent.
you see the face of a young man with an undercut and the rest of his hair messily swept over to one side. Have you met him before in your sleuthing career?
Yeah, I think he is a bit of a crime scene bunny, and so he's a looky-loo. He likes to hang around and have a little look at what's happened.
Loves
after the
inserting
fact.
himself into the investigation.
Yeah.
And he takes off running.
And I just shout, Errol! Shake my fist and run after him.
Okay, roll ordinary to chase him down.
No.
That'll do.
Yeah,
that'll do.
Yeah.
That'll do, Vic.
You tackle Errol in the just outside the auditorium in the corridor.
Yeah.
Tackle him to the ground.
Yeah. I say, Errol, we find ourselves in this position yet again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What are you doing here?
I was just I thought I was inspired by you, and I thought I'd try and recreate the circumstances of the murder.
What? But at what point in the murder was someone down here aiming some kind of weird weapon at the tech box?
Well, they must have been, right? That's the only way it could have been done.
Okay, but what? I mean, that. Firstly, no, that's not the case. But also, what?
How was it done then?
Shut up, Errol. What's that weird weapon you were using?
Oh, it's this thing I rigged up, and it like shoots like a thing with like a really thin needle that could get through the viewing port, and it's got like a fishing line. Because I thought maybe that's how it was done. I didn't get all the way through thinking about it.
No, I can tell. Okay, how did you even get in here? This is a crime scene.
He pulls out a very clearly fake press pass out of his hoodie.
Great. Glad to see that everyone's keeping a tight rein on security, as per usual.
Where's Marlowe?
I'm still up in the tech box, having just heard the shout of Errol. I've probably gone, goddamn, Errol again. But know that Nia's got it under control. So having spent my time kind of thinking about that, I'm probably just going to pop outside the tech box, have an investigate of the other areas outside, and just kind of look for possible entry points and ways that the crime could have been committed.
Okay, roll ordinary. I think looking for clues is pretty ordinary.
7.
You find no clues.
2. Oh my gosh, it's getting problematic. Can't do anything ordinary anymore.
Somehow your mind is just not on this. Not on this job. Something is just like gnawing at the back of your mind that is taking up all your attention. Something's you don't find any clues, but you definitely have a feeling that something's just not right about this case. Something's really off.
Okay, I'm going to head down. I head down towards where I know Nia will be, having wrestled Errol to the ground.
Have you got Errol like strapped to a chair or something?
No, he's just leaning against the wall, standing up, leaning against the wall now, looking a bit sorry for himself. Well, I'm just going to ask him if he genuinely knows anything about the case. Yeah, because sometimes he does, because he hangs around so much, he picks up information. So, do you know anything useful here, Errol?
Well, I've got this theory that I thought it might be like that case you did of the case of the creaky chair.
Right. How is it like that?
Because like nobody heard anything from the room. And that was the thing with the creaky chair, right? Was that it didn't creak. That was the twist.
Yeah,
I thought it was like that.
Sure. I mean, that makes literally no sense. So you haven't heard any chatter. There's nothing interesting coming through.
Do you know anything about the victim?
No, I never met him, but isn't he getting married to that like famous bird at the weekend?
Yep.
Didn't she have that brother? I've got some money for some pictures of him this one time.
Oh my god. I don't know. I don't even know if she has a brother.
Yeah.
But sure.
Yeah.
That does not count as interesting or useful information.
Sorry.
Yeah. Alright, look. You can just go home, Errol.
Alright.
He slopes off.
Bugger off. Yeah.
Utterly useless.
I didn't find anything additional upstairs, but I'm kind of drawing a blank on this one, which is unusual for me at this stage of a case. I usually have at least some harebrained theories about how it could have been done.
Okay.
So, maybe, I don't know whether you want to go and have a second look or there's something something not right today.
I'll go back up and carry on my my look around.
I will go and speak to our fave, Inspector Bridge, about what he's managed to find out so far.
See if the tox report's come back yet.
Yeah, will do.
All right. Nia, roll ordinary to look for some clues.
1.
That'll do.
What do you find?
So I take a closer look at the lighting desk because it doesn't look right. I know that model of lighting desk quite well, and this is looking a lot chunkier than the versions I've used before. So I get out my little multi-tool, flip it over, and sure enough, it's got a false bottom.
Ta-da!
So within that false bottom, it has got rigged a spike.
Death mechanism.
Yeah, correct.
Pop out.
So it just pops out. So as soon as he pressed go, the go was actually disabled, and it was a button to fling a spike up into his head, and it has been rigged so that it actually comes out of his head and then up into the ceiling,
and made a little dent.
Made the dent in the ceiling.
You've cracked it.
I have.
But who did it?
Yeah, and where did the little spike go? Like,
Still in the ceiling.
it's still in the ceiling.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
where the
left a
was.
dent behind it on its entry point.
Ah, clever.
So, Marlowe, as you're speaking to Inspector Bridge, you get the text from Nia to say that she's cracked it. She knows how it was done.
Nice.
And all that's left is for the two of you to run the suspect to ground. Where do you have your confrontation with the culprit?
Oh, back on the stage at the theatre, probably. Like, we invite them in, like Poirot.
Yeah.
We love doing that bit.
After having firmed up the security a bit better.
Oh, yeah. We've got Inspector Bridge and his men, like, positioned for the bit where we know they'll try and run and escape, and they'll open the door and they'll be there, and then...
Yeah.
Was it the brother, or was it someone completely unexpected?
I don't think it was anyone to do with his upcoming wedding, because there'd be no point, because they'd need to be married before that person would inherit any of the money.
Exactly. And I think that we initially suspect that it could be the wife-to-be.
Yeah.
Because there's maybe some reticence about getting married, but she wants the money, but we know she wouldn't inherit the money until she got married.
Yeah.
But by getting married, his own sibling, his sister, is disinherited because she would otherwise have got the money.
Yeah.
And they've had a recent disagreement that we find out about.
Yeah.
And we realise that as a member of the backstage crew, she had all the opportunity to get up into the tech box to rig the false bottom, and her experience as a prop maker has allowed her to have the skills required to be able to rig the lighting desk to be able to commit the crime. Boom.
Yep.
Solved it.
And do you do the proper Poirot style parlour scene where you invite
all of them?
Oh, everybody. And we accuse everybody in order and say, but it wasn't you. And then go to the next person, and then finally, and she should have known it was her because we were getting her last. We get to her, and then she does the classic thing of,
she tries to run, and you're all on the stage, and she runs to leap the orchestra pit into the auditorium. And she just manages to clear the orchestra pit, and she's like grabbed the edge and is sort of trying to pull herself up out of the orchestra pit into the auditorium to run away. All of the exits are sealed, so this is futile.
Yeah.
But she's going for it. What do the two of you do?
I'm just going to stand and watch her.
yeah. And I turn to Nia and say, why do they always run? They always run. And then, she's trying the door at the back and can't get out.
Does she even get out of the orchestra pit?
No, probably not.
She slips back in.
Yeah. She kind of clambers out, and then we're just
I think we just walk up to the edge of it and look down at her like, he's done now?
Yeah.
Standing on the edge of the stage by the footlights, peering into the orchestra pit, you have both of you, strange moment of vertigo. Theatre stages are strange places. They're places where different truths and different realities can become real in different people's eyes. And as she sort of looks up at you from the orchestra pit, looking at you on the stage from where an audience member might be if they fell in the audience, from the notionally real side of the divide to the fictional side of the divide, you feel something inside of you sort of waver, and you both have this very strong feeling that a step over one step forward would not take you on a fall into the orchestra pit. It would take you somewhere else. And you both sort of teeter and sway unsteadily on the side, on this lip.
I look over at Marlowe and say, do you feel that?
Yeah, I do feel that.
What is that?
I don't know, but I feel like I've kind of felt it before. I can't remember when or where.
So I like reach out my hand to try and almost like feel it to see if I can touch whatever it is.
So you reach out your hand sort of over the edge of the stage, and suddenly looking at your hand, it seems like it's not flesh and blood, it's stitched.
So I snap my hand back and look at it in the normal light,
again, like flesh and blood again.
So I look at Marlowe and say, "What did you see that?"
Yeah, and that kind of, I don't know, it's just like ringing a bell in a way where like it doesn't seem as weird and freaky as it probably ought to seem.
You both see the edges of your vision start to blur and become misty, and you start to hear, as if from a great distance away, like the sound of a rising wind, and that sense of unsteadiness on your feet on this edge starts to increase, to the point that you're having to make an effort to keep yourselves upright. And it doesn't feel like there is an expansive stage behind you could just step onto. It feels like you're standing on a tightrope. How about you both roll ordinary to keep your feet?
6.
Nia fails.
4, so do I.
You both, pretty much at exactly the same moment, the strength of your ankles and knees and your balance gives way, and you topple, and you don't fall into the orchestra pit. You fall into whiteness and into mist, and when you both come to, you're both lying in the splintered remains of a loom. You've been listening to Merely Role Players. Ellie plays Nia, Vikki plays Marlowe. I'm Matt, your host, and we were playing Outta Bubblegum, a role-playing game by Jeffrey Grant and Michael Sullivan. Marlowe and Nia will return.